Nobody tells you about that Saturday morning, the one where you walk into your kid's old bedroom and it still has marks on the door frame where you measured their height every year, and you realize you're about to sell this house. And those marks are going to be painted over by someone who doesn't know why they're there. I'm Mark Wiesemann. I've walked a lot of families through real estate transactions, and the ones that involve downsizing are the hardest. Not because of the paperwork, but because of the memories. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the part of downsizing that nobody prepares you for. The emotional weight. Why downsizing feels different? Downsizing isn't selling a house and buying a smaller one. It's closing a chapter of your life. And for most people, it's the first time a real estate transaction has felt that heavy. You're leaving the home where your kids took their first steps, where you hosted Thanksgiving for the past 20 years, where your spouse sat in the same chair every morning with coffee. The equity in that house isn't just financial, it's emotional and it's deep. Nationally, 61% of baby boomer homeowners say they never plan to sell. That number has gone up 7 points in just the last year. And the primary reason isn't financial, it's emotional. If you're feeling that resistance, you are not alone. And you're not being irrational. You're processing something that is real. I lost my dad to Alzheimer's in 2023. My mom and dad moved into their house in 1967, a house they built, a house I grew up in. When Dad's condition got to the point where he wasn't safe at home, we moved him into a memory care facility closer to my brother and me, and my mom moved into an independent living apartment in the same building so she could be there every day. Saturdays were my day with Dad. I'd go visit, take him for a walk. He loved being outside, and I'd always take a selfie with him. Sundays, we'd take him out to lunch after church. I'd get there about an hour early and have that time with him to myself, trimming his fingernails, getting him ready, just being together. That got harder towards the end. Dad was a barber for 60 years. He talked to people his whole life. And one of the first things the disease took was his ability to get the sentences out. The night Dad passed, I went over and sat with Mom. He passed about 5:15 in the morning. They were a month away from their 70th wedding anniversary. High school sweethearts. After Mom went home, I stayed. In 29 and a half years as a police officer, I'd sat with I don't know how many families waiting for the medical examiner to show up. If those people were good enough for me to sit with, then my dad was going to get that same treatment. I lost my dad. Mom lost her husband, her best friend, her soulmate, and then she lost her home. That experience has shaped how I work with every downsizing client. I don't rush people. This is a decision that comes on their terms, and the advice I give anyone traveling this journey, take pictures, take videos, and spend time. There's still memories to be made, even in the hardest chapters of their life. You'll never regret that you took them. The trigger moments, what actually starts a conversation. In my experience, downsizing really starts with a plan. It starts with a moment. A health scare that makes the stairs feel dangerous, a spouse passing away, the house feeling too big and too quiet, kids moving out and realizing you're heating 2,500 square feet for one person, the yard becoming more work than enjoyment. Baby boomers account for 53% of home sellers nationally and 42% of buyers. That's the highest representation of any generation. This is the defining real estate story of this decade. And the projections say it's accelerating. Fannie Mae estimates that 13.1 to 14.6 million older homeowners will exit home ownership between 2026 and 2036. That's a 42% increase over the previous decade. If you're in that window, you're not alone. And having a plan is better than being forced into a decision by a crisis. The most common trigger moments I see are health and loss. These are two big ones. Some people after a loss try to stay in the home because it's what they're used to, and I understand that. But the thing I tell the people, and this happened with my own mom, if you're moving out of town, the sooner you go, the better. Mom didn't move soon enough, and when she moved, she did not know her way around town, nor could she learn it. She can't drive to very many places, and that's hindered her ability to come and go the way that she would like. Having a plan before a crisis forces the decision is always better than scrambling after the fact. The practical side. When nobody tells you about the process, once you've made the emotional decision, the practical side has its own challenges. First, the stuff. After 20 to 30 years in a home, the accumulation is real. Attics, basements, garages, every closet, they're full of things that have meaning but won't fit into your new home. The decluttering process alone takes most families 2 to 4 months if they do it thoughtfully. Second, the timing. Most downsizers need to sell their first and buy their second, which means coordinating 2 transactions. The bridge period, when you've sold but haven't closed on the new one, requires planning. And third, the right sizing. Going from 2,800 square feet to 1,600 square feet isn't just smaller, it's a fundamentally different way of living. Furniture doesn't fit, storage is limited, you need to rethink how you use your space. I help my clients plan all of this before we list, because if you're overwhelmed during the sale, you'll either rush into a bad decision or freeze and not move at all. The biggest piece of practical advice I give is this. During the transaction, some people start to get cold feet, and you just have to keep reminding them why they're doing this. Whether it's for their health, is it for their family, whatever the reason that got them here in the first place, they just need to be reminded. I just had a client who went through this because their husband passed away. There were days when we'd meet to look at houses and she was struggling. I'm a hugger by nature. Thankfully, she was too, because there were a lot of times when I would just hug her and tell her she's doing a great job and we would get through this together. And she was. It's what keeps people moving forward instead of freezing up and staying stuck. The financial reality. Your equity position is probably stronger than you think it is. If you've been in your home for 15 to 20 years in Lee Summit, your equity position is likely significant. Prices are up 2.6% year over year. Homes sell in about 30 days, and sellers are getting 99% of their asking price. If you bought your home for $220,000 in 2006, it's likely worth almost $400,000 or more today. Downsizing from a $400,000 home to a $300,000 patio home or condo style property could free up $100,000 or more in liquid equity after transaction costs. That's money that can fund retirement, cover medical expenses, help with the grandchildren's education, or simply provide a financial cushion. And if you're in a top school zone, your home carries an additional premium. Families are actively seeking those zones, and the demand for a 4-bedroom in Lee Summit is strong. The financial case for downsizing is often clear. It's the emotional case that takes longer to process. Both deserve your attention. I don't think some people who've had their house paid off realize how much value their home has increased. The stats show equity over the last 5 or 6 years has increased around 52%. When you sit down with them and tell them what you think their house can sell for, they're shocked. Most of my downsizing clients will pay cash for their next home. They obviously don't want a payment at this stage of their life. Some of that equity does get eaten up by new home prices, but if they've owned their home for 20 or 30 years, they're definitely surprised by how much equity they have built up. What to look for in your next home. When I work with downsizers, here's what we talk about for the next home. Single story or at least main floor living with the primary bedroom on the first floor. After a certain age, stairs go from inconvenience to a safety risk. Plan for 10 years for now, not just today. Low maintenance. This is the number one lifestyle upgrade people underestimate. Going from a half-acre yard and a 30-year-old roof to a patio home with an HOA maintained exterior changes your weekends. Proximity to medical facilities. Lee Summit has 3 hospitals, St. Luke's East, Lee Summit Medical Center, and University Health Hospital, all within 15 minutes of quality medical care that matters more as you age. 3 great options, like I said. Proximity to the community. Downsizers who stay isolated struggle. Being near downtown Lee Summit, a community center, or a neighborhood with soulful infrastructure makes the transition smoother. And honestly, stay in Lee Summit if you can. Your doctors are here, your friends are here, your routines are here. The disruption of downsizing is already significant. Staying in your community reduces the emotional cost. Sadly, one thing Lee Summit is lacking is the 55 and up communities. The ones that do exist, the prices have escalated fast. So most of my downsizing clients end up buying a traditional ranch home in an older established subdivision. That's where the value is, and those neighborhoods have the kind of quiet, settled feel that works well for this stage of life. If you've been thinking about downsizing and you're not sure if you're ready, this video is your permission to start the conversation without committing to anything. If you've recently lost a spouse or had a health event and the house feels different now, I've been through my own version of that. I understand. If you're a family member watching this, to share it with a parent, thank you. This is a conversation that awfully starts with someone saying, I saw this video. On the other hand, if you're looking for a pure financial analysis of selling and buying down, my market update video has the numbers. And if you're not in the downsizing stage of your life, my other videos cover what you're looking for. Downsizing is not about giving something up. It's about choosing what matters most for this chapter of your life. It's about making life easier and simpler. If you want to have this conversation, no pressure, no timeline, just an honest assessment of your options, email me at info@movingwithmark.com. I'll take the time to listen. Subscribe for weekly Lee Summit content. And if this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. I will see you on the next video.